Hey folks, so I want to take a few minutes and talk to you guys a little bit about Raiders and Venoms. Kind of looking at the two side by side and comparing them a little bit, but I do want to start this off with saying it's very difficult to compare two units together, especially when you're not taking into account what's inside of a list, because that can make a huge difference. And we'll talk about some of those differences when we go through the units, but I just wanted to start it off with that. When you're looking at the two vehicles, there's a lot of similarities between them, and that's their ballistic skills 4. They're 10 all around. They're open top. They're also fast skimmers, and they can also deep strike, which is pretty cool. And they also have night vision, which is always nice. Some of the big differences when you're talking about a raider, its weapons are focused on either heavy armored units or anti-tank. It can hold 10 units or 10 models, and some of the equipment that you can add on it is a little bit different. Holding 10 models is really nice. When you're looking at the Venom, that area that it takes up is much smaller, so it's a lot easier to hide it. The weapons themselves are very focused on anti-infantry. You can only put 5 guys on it, but for the most part, that's not too bad. And its real big defensive saving grace is that 5 plus flicker field for giving it an impulse save of 5 plus, which is always nice, and it has saved me in the past, especially when certain units had ignore cover. So when you're looking at the upgrades between the two, the Raiders definitely focused on either anti-tank, anti-infantry. So for that, you can nail the vehicle, hope to split it open, and then use your folks inside to either assault or shoot whatever spills out to death. So one upgrade I'll always put on these is a night shield, because the 3 plus Jink has saved me so many times, and with the FAQ coming out saying that our dudes are fine for shooting inside, they're not affected by it. That's fantastic. That makes these things so much better. Now, one other upgrade I'll tend to add on this are splinter racks if I have the points, because if you're putting Cabalites in there with splinter weapons, having the splinter racks in them just makes them amazing, especially when you need to shoot at those flying monstrous creatures and you really need to get some hits on them, or you just really need those extra hits in there. So it's really good for that. When you're looking at the Venom, its defensive and upgrades, the only upgrade I really put on it is the upgraded splinter cannon. And typically when it comes to putting stuff inside the Venom, I'll usually lean towards either just my Lamian. I'll have 2 Lamians on the table, flying around with 2 Venoms just to keep them cheap and open up my fast attack options for other vehicles, like my jet bikes and things. Now, I'll usually keep my Venoms usually close to the back as well, but some other really good tactics have always been putting your Trueborn in there with blasters, landing it behind a vehicle, and here's where it has that opposite role when it comes to a Raider. The vehicle itself will be killing the folks that jump out of the ground once the Trueborn destroy whatever vehicle that they're firing at using blasters. So they have very similar roles, but they also have very different roles too. And it all depends on what your list needs. Do you need something with anti-tank that needs to be downrange really fast from a deep strike? Or do you want to keep things back and have like a ton of dark lances on one side, or heavy infantry killing weapons and your Cabalites inside just kind of blasting whatever falls out? The only thing that I really like compared to the two, that really kind of tips the balance when it comes to creating my lists, is I like the Raider for its survivability with the having 3 hull points as compared to the Venoms 2, and having that night shield with the Jink. I just find having my units stay on the table just a little bit longer to be able to take advantage of power from pain makes it much different when it comes to the end game. Usually my Venoms get chewed up once they start moving upfield, or if they're kind of downfield, they just don't seem to come in at the right time, but they're still great for when my Raiders come up, zap something, blow it up, and then my Venom might swoop in and kill whatever's on the ground. So that's usually what I look at when it comes to these two vehicles. Raiders, or even Venoms, I keep them as cheap as possible. Venoms, I always add my the additional splinter cannon on the bottom, and then I'll usually stick either a Lamian in there, keep it as far back as possible, and just use it as a little gunboat, Or I'll put the Trueborn in it with the blasters, deep striking, and killing things. And that's very normal. That's typical of what people do with them. My Raiders, always putting Night Shields on it. And I will often have a row of 6 Raiders all beside each other, and I'll usually only put 5 Kabalites inside and Night Shields on the Raider. If I have the points, I'll put Splinter Racks, but usually with only 5 dudes inside, I won't bother with that, and I'll often just add instead use the extra points and put a blaster in there. I'll take those 6, push them up the field, and then have a few Ravagers behind them also taking things out. So focus fire with all the Dark Lances on something, hopefully I'll blow something up, and then focus fire with all the Splinter Weapons, hopefully kills whatever falls out of it. So that's usually what I do with my Raiders and Venoms. Usually have 6 Raiders in an army, maybe 2 Venoms, but I know Venom spam is a really strong way of going too. But what I want to know is, what are your guys' thoughts on the Raiders and the Venoms? How do you guys use them? And really, what do you put inside them to make them work with your army? How do you usually use them? So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little kind of chit chat. And if you guys have any thoughts, comments, please put them down. And I will talk to you guys later.